That, bro. Hey guys, it's Bruce. Welcome to Convocourses podcast, where we talk about GRC cybersecurity. That's our main topic. Information security is another name that it goes by. And I've been doing this for a really long time, mainly GRC, but I've done many different aspects of cybersecurity. So this is an opportunity to ask somebody from the inside who's been doing this for a long time, currently working as a policy guy, a compliance person, an information system security officer in doing cybersecurity. It's a great opportunity to ask me. I'm going to tell you flat out what's going on, any kind of advice you want. And I'm just going to keep it light today. So, any questions you have, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, and I do this once a week. And let's get right into this. Okay, let me see. Um, Maybe what I'll do is start off with some of my YouTube questions and comments and stuff. I get those quite often. And I just don't have this stuff is kind of a side. I wish I could do it more often, um, but I only have time to like post the main content rather than deep diving into some of the comments like I used to do. I just don't have time for it lately. I hope that eventually my schedule calms down with my job. Like I said, I do this for real. I'm literally in the field doing this. I'm literally employed as a cybersecurity person. I'm not a full time content creator. I'm not a I'm really still in the field, unlike some of my peers who do content. I'm literally doing this, so I can give you a real world perspective on what's going on, especially for GRC cybersecurity stuff. Okay, let me see. Um, I've got some questions. Let me just show you guys what I got going on here. Show you the engagement that I get on YouTube. YouTube's been pretty good on engagement. I like the comments and everything. A lot of my content comes from you guys asking questions or saying something that's true. For those of you who are veterans already doing this stuff. Okay, let me see here. I'll answer one of these before you guys start asking me questions on TikTok. Let me see here. First one is the gateway to CISSP. Okay. Somebody is commenting on which one is this? Leave Windows alone. Oh, I did a joke about Windows. Okay. Um, this is my approach to the IT exam as well. Somebody's commenting on a. I did an interview with a couple of other cybersecurity experts. People have been in the field, are in the field right now, and somebody commented on Ryan. Ryan's comment. Ryan did this. Ryan, if you guys didn't know, is a cybersecurity guy. He's also doing risk management framework type work, and he jumped on one of my podcasts, and he was commenting on how his method of passing IT certification. It's a really good breakdown of of the mindset you should go into if you're doing IT certifications, if you're still trying to get into another field or something like that, especially if you're taking these technical tests. He had this great method of how to study for it. And somebody just chimed in and said, this is my approach to the exam as well. And him and I had completely different, have approached it in different ways to arrive at a similar result. And mine was to take the CISSP and take my time. I took a really long time and just kind of studied every day, a little bit every day for like a year. And he's just like went in and then studied all of it in like, I don't know. I think it was like he said like a few weeks. Like I want to say it was about a month and a half or something. He just crammed for this test. I mean, keep in mind, this is a man who has already had 15 years of experience or something like that in this field. So you can't, it's unrealistic to come in, you know, without some years of experience to do this. So I just want to kind of set your expectations. But he went in there and just studied his ass off for along, like, all he did was study. But he has other methods as well that were really good and insightful in that video. So you should go back and watch it. All right, I'm already getting some people jumping in on TikTok, so I'm gonna go ahead and take these so before it gets overwhelming. Let me see here. Somebody said, Maddie said, not a question, but just wanted to appreciate the work you do. You helped me transition to tech 3 years ago. Wow, what the hell? That's crazy. Are you serious? Thanks. Thanks for watching, Maddie. I um, appreciate you. I mean, I don't know that I would, if people weren't watching, I wouldn't do this. So just so you know, if people didn't comment or didn't watch it, I just wouldn't do it. So the engagement is why I do this. I've had many other channels before, and if there's no engagement, then I'll just stop doing content on there. But the reason why I'm doing so much content is because I'm getting engagement on all platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok. Anywhere I post, I'm getting some kind of engagement because there's a need for this kind of stuff, and not enough people are talking about it. And another thing is my books, like, which is so surprising to me. I'll write books and then people are actually buying them and commenting on it. So I'm like, it's weird to me, but it's really great. So thank you, Maddie, and everybody else who's been watching me over the years. I really appreciate it, and that's why I keep doing this. Um, and I would like to do more courses at some point. Let me see. Are these videos in? Are these videos on certifications on YouTube? Oh yeah, Casey, you can find them on YouTube. You can find certification videos on Udemy. You can find certification videos on Teachable, on Thinkific, on all these different teaching platforms. Are great. All these courses, they're good. My favorite is YouTube because it's free and it's a really good entry. If I was studying electrical engineering, right, in which I'm not an electrical engineer, I don't really know a lot about it, but if I was to get into it, the first thing I would do is I would start watching YouTube videos. It's free. You're getting it from people who have been doing it for 15 plus years, people who dedicate a whole channel to just doing nothing but talking about electrical engineering. The first place I would go to is to learn anything would be YouTube first, and that's just a start to kind of whet your appetite to see if you want to get deeper into this. And then what I would do is I'd buy a book. I'd buy a $20 to $30 book and read up on electrical engineering. I'd study that book. I'd read through it because you might not at that point you still might not be like really engaged with it. So you want to figure out, is this something I really want to do? The last thing I would do is I would really invest in myself. I'd be like, okay, I'm ready. I want to get a certification in this. This is what I really want to do. I'm ready to invest some real money into really developing as a journeyman, as an apprentice in whatever trade. And then that's when I would start buying courses or trying to find mentors or trying to get a job where they're teaching me on the job training or something, like, or go to school, like really invest your time. But the videos, if you want to find like videos for certifications, yes, YouTube is one of the best places. People are doing 10-hour breakdowns of just network engineering. 10-hour breakdowns of just doing the AWS entry level certification. So you can find it. Go ahead and look for it. The real investment in the beginning is your time, and if you can invest your time into it, that's the most important thing. And it's the before you even put any money into it, invest your time into it. Turn off all social media and just focus on that one thing. If you're on social media just to learn that thing, then just learn that one thing. So somebody said, "Yup, just joined an electrician apprenticeship. Congrats." I was just using that as an example, but if I wanted to do plumbing, electrician, if whatever it was, the first thing I would do is go to YouTube because YouTube is just it. All the videos there really will focus for like hours and hours of content on people. Just they're not even editing. They're just like turn the camera on and boom, start talking like I'm doing here. Like that's the kind of stuff you want. There's stuff on TikTok too. You can go to TikTok and get really in-depth knowledge on stuff or on Facebook or whatever. But the best one for learning right now is YouTube, and I hope one day somebody can challenge them. But right now it's YouTube. I was hoping it would be Amazon for a while. Had some video. They had some promise on doing some something comparable to like a YouTube, but so far not yet. Okay, somebody said I'm a security analyst intern. Advice on how to get hired on after my apprenticeship. So my advice to you would be to start working on your profile on LinkedIn, Dice Monster, and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that you can do is the first thing before you do that, what you want to do is get your ATS style resume together. ATS stands for Application Tracking Software. And what it is all of these big organizations, medium and large organizations, they have a database. Whenever you go to their career site or you apply for a job or something, whenever you put your information to apply, you're usually accessing what's called an ATS style. They have an ATS tracking software, and that means that it takes in your resume, and then it parses it. It takes the title, like your name, and then it takes the next part, which would be like your experience, and it breaks all. It is looking at it in chronological order, and then it takes the next part, which is, it might be your skills. It pulls all that stuff in and parses it and puts it neatly into their database, so that when they need an electrician, when they need a cybersecurity expert, when they need somebody who has a CISSP, somebody who has a Security Plus, somebody who used to be an intern doing security and analyst work, then it's able to take their resume cleanly apart, parse it, and put it into their database. That's why ATS style resume is very important. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be have all kinds of graphics on it. They don't. That's not necessary in this field that we're in. Like maybe if you were in a media consultant or something, they want a pretty resume or something creative. This is not that field. So ATS style resume. And if you want to know what those look like, you can go to my site, convocourses.com, convocourses.net. You can find it. Just kind of scroll through all the other stuff I'm putting out there for free or discounts or something like that. You can get my resume for free. My actual resume that I've used to get several jobs, including the one I have currently. It's not even pretty. Like the resume, you'll be like, you got a resume with this? But what you have to look deeper into is the way I put the keywords in there, the way I formatted it. Those are the things that are important. You can literally copy my resume, the formatting, and how I did it, and put that in there. So that's the first thing you want to do. If you want more examples of how to do an intern, specifically a security analyst internship, what you want to do is go and look at how other people do it. Go to LinkedIn, and then look at how other people who are in your field are doing there. What kind of keywords are they using? Let me show you what I'm talking about here. If you happen to be watching me on YouTube or Facebook, I'm gonna go to LinkedIn right now. It's funny because most of my jobs have come from like Monster or Dice or something like that, but most of the resource comes from LinkedIn, like how to find jobs, what the market's doing, other people's resumes. Most of it comes from LinkedIn. So what I'm going to do right now, if you happen to be watching me on YouTube or something, I'm going to show you guys what's up. So here I am on LinkedIn. You see my screen, and I'm going to type in you are a security intern, a security analyst. We also call that cybersecurity analyst or SOC analyst, but we'll just put in security analyst. And what I'm looking for is not necessarily jobs. I'm looking for other people's publicly available resumes. And I'm going to show you why in a second here. So when I type this in, I get a whole bunch of people that float right to the top. It's going to cater to whatever area you happen to be. I'm in Colorado, so mostly it's Colorado people popping up. the algorithm is searching for the most relevant to you, right? That's why it's also important to get your profile out there. But let's say you're still working on your ATS style resume. Okay, so I'm looking at people who are the top guys on Indeed, LinkedIn. Sorry, on LinkedIn. So the first one right here, this is, I think this one's paid. So I don't necessarily want these paid ones. Like they're paying to get their stuff on top. But let's look at this first one here. Maybe he has his full resume out there. All right, he has something on here. So what this is giving us here, what we're seeing here is somebody who has their resume out there. Yo, this is their full resume. Okay, this is cool. So it's telling me what area they're in or whatever, what their experience is. And what I'm really looking for is different keywords. And they have different keywords in here that are relevant to the market that they're looking for. So that's very telling. Now let's look at more stuff here. Let's look at another resume, a resume that's not paid. They didn't pay for the extra service of getting their stuff on top. So here's another one. This person is an Army, came out of was in the Army for a bit. They said they went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and all that kind of stuff. This is good, but it's not breaking down everything they did. So let's just go to the next resume here, because you can put your resume on private and it looks like this person did. I'm looking for a full-blown resume that's not paid. Let's look at Dwayne's resume right here. The reason why the top ones are very important is because they're doing something right in their resume. They have the right keywords. There's something in their resume that's relevant to what you're looking for, which in our case is security analyst. Okay, so I don't see his full resume, so let's go back and let's do another search on the next person down who's not sponsored. And the next one, right at the very top of this person's resume. Here's why this is cool. So they put security analyst right on top. So that's what you want to do. They put cyber security analyst, right? Very important distinction, because that is a key word. Cyber security analyst is what you really want, not just security analyst. You want to narrow it down. Now, if you happen to, maybe you're not a cyber security analyst, I don't know. But if you're doing computers, then you want to put cyber security analyst, right? So right away, we're discovering something very important. Another thing that they're doing here is they're putting their most relevant stuff right up on top of their profile. That they're putting that they're CISSP. That's huge, right? If you have your top certification, you want to put it right on top. They're putting their clearance. If you have a clearance, you want to put it on there. You don't have to have a clearance to do cybersecurity, by the way, just so you know. They're putting that they have an affiliation with the Department of Defense. So that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for. We're looking for keywords. Now, if we get right into this person's experience, what do we see here? We're seeing where they went, like we're seeing that they were in the Air Force, and then they have some keywords right up top. Keywords like some actual systems that they use, like Kibana dashboards. I think, did they spell that wrong? Did they mean Kanban dashboard? I don't know. Anyway, so they're putting things that they've used, which is Kibana dashboards. I don't know what that is, but maybe it's relevant to whatever they're doing. They're putting Event Manager. That's a big one. They're putting SIEM, which is a Security Information and Event Manager. One thing I would add to this, if I was them, is I would spell out the entire word and then I'd put the actual acronym. So acronym, I would put Security Information and Event Manager, and then I will put in parentheses a SIEM, a CIEM. So yeah, you're getting some relevant stuff here. They're talking about not only what they did, but the tools that they use, and the tools and the skills and anything else in their actual resume. That's the kind of stuff you want to put in your resume. So that's why I showed you this. And you can just keep going down the list and find more keywords, more technologies and skills that are going to put you right in the path of success, because people are literally looking for those kinds of technologies and skills and experience. So that's what I would do if I were you. If I was a security analyst intern, is I would build up my ATS style resume. Then I would go ahead, once my resume is really good, I would go ahead and upload it into Monster, into Dice, into Career Builder, into Indeed, and into LinkedIn. All of them. And fill out your entire profile. And once you do that, what happens is the algorithm in each one of those job aggregators is actually lining you up with different opportunities. So that way, when you're done with your internship, you're going to have a few different options. So that's what you need to do. Don't wait until you get out of the internship. Do it right now. If you need to turn this thing off and do exactly what I just told you, that's how important this is. That's what you should do. Let me see. Would like to transition out of sales to this. Not sure where to start. Well, what sales are you doing? Are you doing technical sales or like selling cars or like what? Because depending on where you're at, like what's your technical skill level? Are you an IT person? Are you like a nerd, a geek? You put your own computers together. You fix your mom and dad's computer. Like what? Where are you at technically? Right? Are you in this field? Because there's levels to this. If you're coming in off the street, like if you don't know nothing at all about IT, and it sounds interesting what I'm saying, and you keep hearing about this market's not slowing down and all this kind of, so you're interested, and I'll pique your interest as you're searching, whatever. The first thing you need to do, I'm going to tell you, is learn the fundamentals of IT. You might not want to do this. The first thing you want to do, go to YouTube, go to Bing, whatever, and then just start looking for IT. Like, what is it like to be an IT professional? That should be the first question in your mind, because you might not want to do this. It's might not be for you, right? Right now you're just window shopping, right? So let's say you're beyond that point. You already know, like Bruce, like I already know how hot IT is. I like doing it. It's cool. My cousin does it, my brother, my uncle, whoever. This is definitely something I want to do, or I have a talent for this. I just never got into it. If this is you, then the next thing you want to do is learn IT fundamentals. Learn the IT learn the foundations of information technology, right? I'm assuming that that's where you're at. You're a nerd, you're a geek, like you love this stuff, but you've never got into it. There's a landscape that you need to learn um, as you to make this journey. To start this journey, you need to have some fun down. I normally tell people to take a look at the CompTIA A plus curriculum. The domains there is a really clean breakdown of some of the stuff you really need to know, right? Whether or not you get the certification, that's fine. It is marketable if you want to go that route. Like you can use it to get like a technical a field tech one help desk type job. So it is marketable. I'm not telling you not to. It was my first certification, one of my first certifications, and that's why I refer people to it, because it like the after it was broke down, it was like I knew the language of I just got it, like a light bulb came on. So let's say you're past that part. You're saying, Bruce, like I'm not a window shopper. I know this. I am a geek. I've been fixing computers. I already know that stuff. I've been working on the A plus certifications. I don't really need that. And let's say you're one step above that stuff. Let's say you've been a geek. Maybe you worked a little bit of IT before, but you did it a while ago. So now you need to sharpen up your skills and get a job in this field. Like you want to start with, if you're not, there's a couple different paths from here. All right, one is military. Going to the military as a as a 3C, a 3D in the Air Force, or I don't know, if a 25 Bravo in the Army or something. That's one. That's not for everybody, right? That's like 1% of the population that's going to be able to cut it or do it and stomach it. Like it's not for everybody. So let's put that one aside. Okay, that's not for everybody. Next one would be to go to school. Go to school and get a bachelor, work on a bachelor's degree. At least a bachelor's degree is what I would say. Associates will be cool, but a bachelor's is gonna kick up open some doors. Like if you're really into this, a master's degree, but that right now the biggest bang for your buck is gonna be a bachelor's degree in information technology or information systems or computer science or something involving computers. Any engineering would do, but the best one would be like a computer type degree. And here's why I tell you to do it, because you'll be able to get an internship, you'll be able to get an apprenticeship. Some people they'll just from you doing, it's going to give you all of these different ends and different networking that are allowed, that are not afforded to people who just come in and off the street. Uh, so that's enough. And then you can also be a working student and get the skills while you're in the university. Like there's so many different opportunities if you're going to school. So that's another path. So we talked about military, talk about going to school. Let's say that those neither one of those are options for you, right? Maybe you already went to school, you don't need that. You're done with school. You got a bachelor's degree in business or something. You don't want to go back to school, whatever. So what else can you do? Another thing you can do is sharpen up your IT skills. Get some stuff on your resume by becoming a freelancer. If you're highly skilled at fixing computers or removing malware or something, you could be a freelancer, sharpen up your skills and put that stuff in your resume. And another thing you can do is get a local job where you're not getting paid a lot, but right now you're not worried about the pay, you're worried about getting the skills. Another thing you can do is, if you already happen to have a job, this is one of the best things you can do, is make a lateral move in the company or organization you're in. Because that's what I did when I was in the military. I was a grunt. I was a weapons specialist. I could break apart an M60 rifle and put it back together. I could shoot M16s really good. I was a marksman. I can shoot back then. But I learned all these different weapons and stuff. Only thing is that I didn't want to do that shit on the outside. I didn't want to do, and I don't have nothing to do with that. So I really love computers. So what I did was I cross trained. I made a lateral move in the military from being a grunt to being a computer specialist. And I was already a geek, so I was already studying and watching videos and just I would do stuff on my own. I would tinker with my computer and all this kind of stuff. Um, so a lateral change. If you already have a job, you're already in sales. I guarantee you they have an IT department. I guarantee you there's IT guys there in your office, whatever. Talk to those guys. See how you can make a lateral change. They might even do, if you've been a great worker, they might even be excited about you moving there because they get to keep or retain a good dude, a good worker, and then have you doing, they'll teach you on the job, and then you will able to do help desk or fix their network there. So there's a few different ways you can start to transition, but it kind of depends, Will, on where you're at, like technically where you're at. Let me answer some more questions here. I got some folks joining. If you guys didn't know, I do this once a week. If you happen to be jumping in here, where I'm talking about cybersecurity, governance, risk, and compliance. It's what I've been doing for many years. So many years ago, I started a blog where I was talking about this kind of stuff, and there's just not a lot of people talking about it. It's not it's very niche. Um, there's tons of people out there, but um, not as many that we need more people to talk about this because it's just not in the public mindset, right? When you think cybersecurity, you think hacking, you think forensics, but you don't think about GRC stuff. So that's why I started talking about it, and over the years, that's kind of where I'm at. Somebody said that somebody said you sound muffled. Um, how does my sound? You guys hear me? Sometimes my sound is jacked up because let me see. Haven't seen any risk management framework jobs, Bruce. So with GRC, and the next question might lead into this topic I want to talk about. It said, is GRC market going cold with all the layoffs? Okay, great. So it's two different comments and questions and stuff. The first one is, haven't seen any risk management framework jobs. And the next one said, is the GRC market going cold with all the layoffs? So what I would say here is it seems to have slowed a little bit. I don't get as many job offers as I was before, but I would not say it was cold. And I would say that people still do need people for this job. The reason why I say that is from my own experience, like where I'm at right now, we need people for sure. We definitely need people to do this work. And every job, excuse me, last, I don't know, 5 jobs I've had, we never have enough people to do this work. It's because it's hard to get people in this job. Like even IT guys, some of my mentors, some of my friends, my peers who are really talented IT guys, they don't want to do this shit, man. They don't want to do GRC. They don't want to do meetings. They don't want to do policies. They don't want to do this kind of stuff. So you're skilled guys, you're skilled firewall guy, you're skilled network engineer, you're skilled software engineer does not want to do documentation, does not want to get in these meetings with other stakeholders, do not want to put up with some dude's attitude because they think they know your job. This is hard. That's why they didn't want to do it. This is emotionally hard. Some of the other jobs are technically hard, like your hardcore network engineer. Not everybody can be a CCNP. Never mind a CCIE, right? That's a high level WAN engineer, a wide area network engineer. Not everybody has the mindset for that, or a software engineer, software high level software developer. Not everybody can do that technically, right? In the same vein, this job right here emotionally can be very taxing, and that's why one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of minorities are doing this job because we've been through some shit already. We've seen friends and family pass away. We've seen war. So I see a lot of immigrants, first time Americans doing this job. I see a lot of people like myself from very humble beginnings in the U.S. because a little bit of and veterans, military veterans who've seen some shit, who've been yelled at, and are gonna is you're not gonna hurt their feelings by yelling at them. Put it to you that way. You're not gonna hurt their feelings by being an asshole, right? They'll just be like, whatever, pay me. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever, dude, pay me. Um, and keep it moving. We got a job to do, right? Like one of the things that military teaches you is like, listen, I don't have to like you, you don't have to like me. Let's just get this shit done. We don't have to like each other. I don't have to like anybody who looks like you. Let's just get this shit done and be on our way. So this is not for everybody. This job is not for everybody. That said, let me stay on the topic here. Somebody said that this is going cold. My argument to this is that on the news you might be in your own rabbit hole on Facebook or whatever, and people saying, oh, the job market's bad, or America's gonna collapse and all kind of whatever, right? Whatever. They've been saying the same thing for like 30 years. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. A broke clock is right twice a day. If you keep saying the same shit over and over again, eventually you're gonna be right. Eventually you gotta roll the dice and you're gonna be right. So, is the market slowing down a bit? I would say a bit, right? Just from what I've seen, it slowed down a bit, but I don't know that it's crashing or anything like that. Um, I think a lot of changes are happening right now. A lot of things are happening all at once, and there's a lot of different technologies come emerging. There's just a lot of stuff happening right now. The whole global economy is shifting. I wouldn't say it's like collapsing more than it's just like things are shifting. And some people are panicking because things are changing so rapidly. This is just my observation, right? Um, Things are changing very fast on a global scale. Things are happening with China. China is having some kind of crazy economic crash because of Evergrande. I don't know if you guys pay attention to that market, but they had this huge collapse of the housing market. So now they're trying to prop up their economy as much as possible. The same thing happened in the U.S. in 2008 is happening times two in China, and they're trying, and the CCP is trying to prop it up as best they can. That's something. Look up what I'm saying. I'm not making this up. It's not hyperbolic. I'm telling you, go look up what's going on with China. That's impacting the global market because China is a gigantic market. We rely on them and they rely on us. It's an internet, like we're all tied together. If something happens, on top of that, you got stuff happening. Like Russia's having a gigantic war. There's stuff happening in the Middle East. There's a bunch of shifts that are all changing. All right now, all this stuff's happening. And on top of that, you got several different emerging technologies, from AI to cloud computing, and which has been around for quite some time, but now everybody's using it. You've got all of these different things all happening at once, and it's actually a very exciting and terrifying time to be in. And I think that all those things are influencing the market, and so it's kind of like it's going up and down. That's what I think is happening. And I don't know. I'm not an economist, but that's kind of what it seems like is happening. I mean, on top of that, the value of the dollar has been steadily declining over many decades. And but one thing I want to say is this: risk management framework jobs is not the main focus. Like if you're a GRC person, if you're an information system security officer, if you're an information security person, that means you do policy, you do maybe you're a project manager, right? You are adjacent to different technical projects. If you're in this field of work, then you shouldn't focus on one framework. Don't focus on one framework. It took me many years to figure this out, and you guys are getting knowledge that it took me 10 years to figure out. But I'm telling you, don't focus on one framework. So somebody said risk management framework jobs. I haven't seen any. And then somebody said the GRC market, is it going cold? I would say no. And let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go on LinkedIn again. Now maybe I'll try Indeed and LinkedIn. But here I am on Indeed. You guys see this is my real profile, by the way. Hopefully I don't have anything bad on here. But now I'm going to type in, let's just type in GRC. Let's just see what we see with GRC. So GRC looks different from every industry. When I say industry, I mean like the hospital, the healthcare industry, the pharma industry, manufacturing, government, retail, business. All of these are different industries, right? And GRC applies to every single one of them, but they use different terminology. So here I just typed in GRC on LinkedIn, and now let's look at jobs. Let's see how many jobs are out there when I just type in GRC. Now, GRC is a very, very broad term. You're going to get risk analyst work. You're going to get senior management consultant. You're going to get information security GRC architect. You're going to get just all kinds of stuff, senior analyst. There are a lot of jobs for just 9,000 results. But remember, this is too broad because it's covering every single industry. It's covering governance, the risk, and the compliance all at once. So very, very broad. You could do this. There are jobs. You can see clearly there's jobs. Now, let me not cheat here. What I'll do is I'll say, I'm going to filter this down to anything in the past month. That's fair. So instead of 9,000, it goes down to 60,000, not 6,000 results for GRC jobs. 6,000 results. And again, it's GRC Integrity Program Manager, AVP of Risk Management. We've got ISO, GRC Third Party Security. That's ISO. That means that they're doing risk management framework. These guys are paying 129 to 189 a year. I would say the market has slowed down, but I would not say it's cold. And their layoffs is not affecting us as much as it's affecting FANG. And FANG is Facebook, aka Meta, Apple, Netflix, Google, and there's a few others like Tesla. The reason why I named those, they call it FANG, and they kind of group them all together. Those are the ones you always see on the news. And the reason why is because those are the ones in the S&P 500, meaning they're the most valuable stock. They're the blue chip stocks that the stock market is kind of is directly impacted by. So when I talk about GRC and the work I do is based off of very necessary work for the government. So whenever the stock market or whatever is going up and down and people are getting laid off, I'm not normally affected by that. Where it does affect me is when they do the budget at the end of the year. When I say they, when the legislators in the U.S. do the budget for the end of the year and they start cutting departments, like federal departments, that's when I'm affected. So I'm not affected by directly by the S&P 500 and the stock, the blue chops and Fang and all that kind of stuff. I'm affected by if I'm working for the Department of Energy and the government says, hey, we're going to cut that by 15%. Or if I'm working for the Department of State, this happened a while ago and they start trimming this Department of State down. Really, they cut it to the bone to where they cut it 15%. And then the next president came in and it's like, we're going to cut more. And they just kept cutting it down. And then they had to lay off people and they had to cut contracts and stuff. That's what affects, if you work for the government, that's what affects them. So um, don't be fooled by just the sound bite of the day that's on the news. GRC is a very big field, and we need people in healthcare that know HIPAA. We need people in retail who know PCI DSS. We need risk management framework people who know government, FISMA and things like that. So it's a very broad field, and it's slowed down, but it's still very, very much relevant. Okay, let me see here. Somebody said on YouTube, and thanks for your comments on YouTube, by the way. I do see you guys. I'm not ignoring you. Thanks, Fanny. I appreciate that. Somebody said, how do I transition from cloud security engineering role as an ISO? How do I transition to a cloud engineering role as an ISO? Okay. And I have a TS and work for one of the biggest defense contractors. Okay. Um, I can tell you what I would do and what I've seen some peers of mine do to transition into cloud security. So you're in luck because it's very, very hot. They're always looking for people. Here's one of the things you can do. I want to like to show you my screen and I'll walk you through some options that you have. Cloud market. Bear with me here for a second. I just want to kind of give you a big picture and break this down to you. Okay, so let me show my screen real quick. And what I brought up here is the market for cloud infrastructure. And you'll notice you've got Amazon, you've got Microsoft, you've got Google, right? Amazon is AWS cloud. Microsoft is Azure. Google has its own cloud. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones. But you'll see Amazon has 32% of the market. Then you've got followed by a close second, which is Microsoft Azure. Their Azure products are very dominant. And so they've got 23% of the total cloud infrastructure market. And then you've got Google that has 10%. Why is this important? This is important because when you look for a job, this is saying, 32% of the people that are using cloud services are going to be using Amazon. So probably the most lucrative thing you can do, the most let me put it to you this way. It's highly probable that when you go looking for a cloud job, they're going to either be using Amazon or Azure, Microsoft Azure, right? Okay, just hang with me here. It'll make sense in a second. So we already established that the two top ones, the top three is Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. That said, probably the best certification for you to start going for would be an Amazon certification. So I'm telling you, start studying cloud. If you happen to be an ISO and you're trying to do cloud, you probably want to start with this certification right here. This AWS Certified Solution Architect. No, that's not the right one. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm telling you the wrong shit, man. That's not the right one. Is that the right one? Let me see. Associate. That's the right one. Here, I think this is it right here. I'm looking for the entry level. There it is. I'm sorry. Okay, my bad. Okay, AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner. That's the first one you want to take, right? And this is going to get your foot in the door of learning the fundamentals of what you need to know for cloud technology. Now, keep in mind, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm not a cloud guy. I'm just telling you what peers of mine have done. In the last job I had, we had this big move to cloud stuff. So what they did with us, we were all cybersecurity consultants, and we had this department that was being built up to do cloud services, like for security cloud services. So exactly what you're talking about. And the first thing that they did to set this up is to start taking us from a consultant type from our consultant type work and kind of getting us on this track where we would get these certifications. And it breaks everything down of the fundamental things that you need to know about cloud as a cloud practitioner, right? Because before you get into the security stuff, you got to know how cloud works. So that's one thing you can do is just start working on this cloud server, and don't stop here. If you're trying to be a cloud security engineer, you've got a great foundation as an information security officer because you know best security practices. You have a basic understanding of networking and all that kind of stuff. You have the mindset of a security person for the whole organization. So that is really good. The fundamentals are already there. So when you learn this stuff, you'll be able to pick it up pretty fast. Don't stop here though. You want to go into architecture next or operations, whichever one of these. To get deeper into cloud technology, and eventually you want to specialize in this one here. And this is just options. You might not even have to go this far. Specialize in this one, AWS Certified Security Specialist. And so now you've got yourself a high level certification or an intermediate certification with a specialization in cloud. That's one track you can take. Another thing you can do is as a ISO, you have exposure to frameworks like risk management framework. You might also have exposure to something called FedRAMP. So FedRAMP is the federal government, U.S. federal government's implementation of cloud technology. So it's literally looking at how do we secure our systems that are in the cloud. So if you can get you can get your hands on this right here, if you can actually, like me, like one of the things that I'll do is whenever I'm in an interview, and they always ask me this, what's your experience with cloud? Like, what have you done with cloud stuff, right? And I always bring up FedRAMP because FedRAMP is how we secured cloud technologies in the federal government. I do have experience working with FedRAMP. So if you have the opportunity to work on a FedRAMP system, a system that is based in the cloud, that is used by the US government, you are a part of securing that system. You can use that on your resume. You can legitimately use that on your resume. All it is risk management. By the way, all it is risk management framework with a few extra steps. I'm telling you, that's what it is. I'm telling you. There are a couple of extra steps there, but if you do FedRAMP, you'll be able to add that to your resume. So that's a few things that you can do. I hope that helps you out. Let me see here. Back on TikTok. Let me see if I can answer any more questions. Casey says, cybersecurity student, which do you like better, Hack the Box or Try Hack Me or Range Force? I've never used Range Force at all. I don't know what that is, but I've used both Hack the Box and Try Hack Me. And but it was a while ago, so I don't remember which is which. I don't remember. I can't distinguish my experience with each, and I apologize. I really like both of them. I can tell you that. I like the one that's going to sponsor me first. So whichever one, I've reached out to them, and whichever one contacts me and says, "Hey Bruce, we're gonna give all your users a discount." to use our product or whatever, then that's the one that I want, that I'm going to promote. But right now, I have no preference. I've used both. I like both. Um, but the one that sponsors me, that's the one I'm going to back up 1,000%. Let me see. Somebody said, currently an intern security analyst. I want the company I'm working for. I want the company I'm working at now to hire me full time. Advice. So if they really like your work, if you're here's a couple things that might have them coming back to you. Number one, don't you might find something better. Okay, just keep that in mind. Just keep in mind you might find a place that will pay you more and treat you better. Just keep that in mind. Don't be desperate, because if you're already an intern, you already have something extremely valuable. All right, so just keep that in mind. That said, if you want to stay here, there's a couple things that organizations are really looking for. The people you really want to impress is not necessarily the upper level managers, because they don't know what the fuck is going on, usually. The guys you really want to impress, or the people you really want to impress, are the people you're working with right now. Like that office, whatever office that they got you working in, those people, the guy right next to you, the lady right in the person who's above, like right there, your supervisor, those are the people who are going to endorse you. And the thing that they're really looking for, especially for new hires, is going to be somebody who is a team player. All of you guys are lifting up that heavy workload, and they want somebody who's going to come in there and pick up that load and be willing to go the extra mile with it, enthusiastically, like a beast. Whenever I do that, it blows people's minds because they're not used to that level of effort. They're not used to it. And that's one of the things that I got from the military. When you work like that, people are going to notice. They're going to notice when you leave, because the workload, they're like, yo, this is a lot of work. Who was doing this before? So put in that work extra and work enthusiastically with your part, like with whoever's in that room with you. Like if they tell you, hey, could you parse this? Here's an Excel spreadsheet. It's got 100 items on it. We need this done by Wednesday. I know that's short notice, but could you get this done? Man, do it by freaking Monday. Do it faster and with more effort than what they ask. Do way more than what they ask. Blow their minds. Don't just meet the standard, exceed it. And then they will come back to you. And if they don't, they're gonna be like, man, what happened to that one person used to work? Man, that person was good. So that's what I would say is that work, blow their minds. That's every time I've done that. Every time I've done that, people do not forget. They do not. They'll call me to see if I still want to work at that place. They'll they'll endorse me. They'll try to give me raises. I'll get these awards. They'll try to get me to be a supervisor or manager or something like that. Every single time, that level of effort is not missed. You will be noticed. Another thing is if you have the opportunity to work with people who are difficult, it's an opportunity because nobody else wants to deal with their bullshit. And if you get in there and you can talk to that person, especially if it's a manager, and you can talk to them and you can still get stuff done, if you can deal with difficult people, it's one of the most slept on skills that people will hire you immediately if you know how to do it, because nobody else wants to work with these people who are very difficult to work with. If you can do that, you can get in there. Somebody said, hold on a second. On Instagram, somebody said, can you save this live for me to come back to listen later? Yeah, I usually repost these things. If you happen to be watching me on YouTube or Facebook, that's where it's usually stored, and it's also stored on audio. If you actually listen to this, it's out there. All the videos I've done are out there. So let me see. Just best way to find me and to get back to these videos, if you want to watch it for later or whatever, is to subscribe, and then come back to the page later, and it'll be there. TikTok is the only one that doesn't save it. But even this right here on TikTok, if you have to want to come back, whatever, go to YouTube, go to Convocourses, sign up. All of my stuff is there. This whole thing is recorded, and it stays on Facebook. It stays on YouTube, and I think those are, oh, and of course on a podcast, on wherever you listen to podcasts. SJ says Bruce's remote work book I got back in 2018-19, and the resume helped me to find several remote jobs. Hey man, thank you SJ for that endorsement, man. Nobody buys that book. I don't know why, man. I love working from home. Let me see. Hey Bruce, what's going on, man? I'm doing all right. Let me see what else we got here. Haven says, can you do GRC in the cloud? Yes. So cloud technology definitely requires GRC work. And one of the examples that I talked about earlier is called, what the federal government uses is something called FedRAMP. And I can't remember the name of the acronym, and I apologize. Let me just look it up real quick. It's basically risk management framework. So they still use frameworks. Standards, frameworks, rules, regulations still apply to cloud technology. I mean, cloud is really no different from anything else. It's the same stuff. It's the same. It's just computers. It's networked computers. It just done in a different way. So FedRAMP stands for Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program, and it's used by the federal government. That is GRC. It uses governance, risk, and compliance. Governance in that the organization that's managing the information technology um, has to do it in a way that's transparent, and has to do it in a way that is transparent with what they're securing, whether it be what kind of sensitive information that they're securing. They have to know and identify all their assets. They have to know and identify all of the vulnerabilities, and then the risk. Of course, they have to do regular risk assessments. They have to again identify the systems that they are protecting, identify the threats against the weaknesses on those systems if there are any, and then how can we mitigate those things? How can we make it so that we're managing the risk effectively? And then compliance. Every cloud computing system also has to be in compliance with whatever sector they're in, whether they're in the government sector or the retail sector, or if you work at Target or Walmart or whatever. All of those guys are using cloud technology, and they are not exempt from having governance, risk, and compliance on all their systems and all their processes. So GRC still applies to cloud technology. Don't think of cloud as anything different than what we already do. It's just cloud technology. All it means is that a computer is elsewhere. We're like right now. I'm talking to you guys. I'm using cloud technology. There's a server at on TikTok that's receiving my feed, and it is giving you guys the feed, right? And YouTube, same thing. It's a server that's somewhere else. At my house, I don't have the resources to do the stuff that they're doing for me. All I have is a camera, a mic, and that data is going to their servers, and their servers are figuring out how to give it to all you guys. That is cloud technology. It's the computers and resources is somewhere else, and I'm trusting that other organization to get that data where it needs to go or protect the data. So it's really not. We put it on some kind of pedestal, but really it's the same stuff. Thoughts on CIS? So CIS is a best security practice, and I've used it at a couple of different organizations. They have this really good tool, a nice tool called the CIS benchmark that will go through and look at all of the security controls on your system. It'll like scan your system and then tell you, okay, here's possible vulnerabilities. You should probably do X, Y, and Z. CIS is like a civilian version of what we do in the government. It's a very stripped down, clean version of best security practices. It's a really, really good way to understand best security practices, um, because it just breaks down all the basic things that you need without going into all this other detail. Like if you do PCI DSS, it's really about protecting credit cards. If you do HIPAA, that's just straight up healthcare. If you do risk management framework, it's too exhaustive. It's confusing. It's just when you first look at it, it's like what the hell? 1,000 controls? That don't even make any damn sense. But CIS, it has about 20 controls. It gets straight to the point. Says you need to do X, Y, and Z. CIS is a great entry level into cybersecurity. That's why I wrote this book where it's all it is cybersecurity fundamentals, and all I did was take the CIS controls and expand on them. I just took the CIS controls and then expanded on them and gave you examples of how these things work, what you would use, how you as an IT professional, and then I gave you like where you can go learn more. So CIS controls are fire. CIS, if you're interested in learning it, if you're really new to this, I would highly recommend you go check it out. It's called CIS V8. That's the current version that they're on for CIS controls. Let me see. Best way to break into cybersecurity fresh. Best way to break into cybersecurity is to be a help desk person. That's the best way to do it. If you're a help desk person, field tech, if you happen to do, if you happen to be one of those dudes that sets up routers for Verizon or sets up routers for, your local broadband company, man, that's a great way to learn cybersecurity because really you're fixing the infrastructure, and that infrastructure needs security. So now you're learning the fundamentals of how technology works, and the more you understand how it works, the more you can protect it, the easier it'll be for you to understand the protection of it. Now, I do know a few people like Tech Woke, Chris at Tech Woke. I don't know if you guys know, but Chris at Tech Woke also has a podcast. Go ahead and check him out. He's on YouTube, he's on TikTok. Um, but I did an interview with him, and he bypassed help desk and went straight into GRC work, which is crazy. But he did it, and he's doing it right now. He's a GRC guy. He's an information security officer working for the government. But he went through. He was a master. He got a master's degree, and that's how he, got his foot in the door, doing that. So the best way, in my opinion, for most people who don't have might not have the time, money, or energy to do a bachelor's degree or master's degree, an internship, and all that kind of stuff, is to become a field tech or help desk guy. And even Chris, when I was interviewing him for the podcast, he even mentioned that like the best way is, in his opinion, was to do help desk because you get to learn that the fundamentals of the technical side, and get hands on with that. It's the best way to learn cybersecurity. Let me see. This is primarily for information security or cybersecurity. I think maybe they're asking me, I don't, Game Life, I'm going to have to interpret what you're saying here. You're saying that this podcast, what I'm talking about, is it more information security or cybersecurity? And for those of you who don't know, in this field, some people break it apart. They break it into two different things. Some people say that cybersecurity and information security are two different things. And they're saying information security is what I'm talking to you about. Is doing the documentation, making sure that the organization is doing everything they're supposed to do with security controls. It's doing lots of meetings. It's making sure you're in compliance with certain regulations and laws. That's information security. And then they're saying cybersecurity is people who are running scans. They're people who are doing the firewall rules. They're hands on. They're doing the network engineering, port security settings. They're doing configuration backups. They're hands on and they're way more technical. So they kind of separate the two. Um, my, the way I've approached it is that it's all one big umbrella. It's cybersecurity, and this is coming from a person who's done all that stuff. I've done the full technical side from threat intelligence, cyber threat intelligence, to working with information IPTs, or information protection, information detection systems. I've done information prevention systems. I've done SIEMs. I've put them together, but I've also done the GRC side, everything from doing writing policies to it. Just I've done the whole umbrella, and I'm telling you, there's so much mixture between the two that I just put it. It's just in my mind simpler to understand it by saying it's all cybersecurity, and there's different categories in cybersecurity. It just makes more sense to me too, because as a GRC person, as an information security person, I've had to do some of the technical stuff. I've had jobs where I was an information security guy and I was implementing the controls on a system. I've had jobs where I was a cybersecurity person as a I was doing a SIEM. I was putting together SIEMs, which is a security information event manager. I was putting it together and then doing the creating the actual content for it. And so it's very technical. But I also had to do the documentation piece for it, and I had to work with the people who were doing our risk management framework stuff. So there's just so much overlap between the two that it just makes more sense to say, look, it's all cybersecurity, and I might have to do something more technical, or I might have to do something. I have to do the documentation piece. So yeah, that's it. It's in. I mean, if you're describing the two parts in information security or cybersecurity, I'm mostly talking about information security. Doing cybersecurity sales, man, that's a great entry level into this field. Network analyst here, no certifications, no degrees. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I know a few people who my first mentors had none of that. Just graduated with a degree in cybersecurity. I'm struggling to land a job. Um, so they're looking for experience, and it's kind of like a chicken and the egg scenario situation. What you probably want to do is, if you already have a job, there's a couple things you can do. So if you already have a job, try to make a lateral change into cybersecurity, into IT. Don't think about cybersecurity. Just think about information technology. You will get exposure to cybersecurity by you will get exposure by doing information technology. Okay, um, and in the beginning, try to get anything, like try to get some kind of a local information technology or field tech job. Anything, because right now experience is more important than how much they're going to pay you in the beginning, especially if you can't find anything. Another thing is, check your resume and make sure, first of all, check your resume. Okay, you don't know how to do a resume, if you're kind of struggling with it, you can download mine, take a look at it. But also you can go to LinkedIn, look at other people's resume who are doing the job you're trying to do. Put some of that stuff on your resume. You can also try to get internships in the school if you happen to still be in school. If you have access to the campus, try to go there and do internships or apprenticeships. See if they have. Sometimes they'll have working student programs. Sometimes they'll have programs for people who graduated from that college. Look for any kind of way to get your foot in the door to get the experience on your resume. Once you have tightened up your resume, once you've looked at my resume, you've looked at other people's resume, you have a good idea and understanding of what you need to put on there as far as keywords and stuff. Now what you want to do is shop it around, market the hell out of it, put it on top 10 job aggregators, put it everywhere. It seems like a very simple thing to do, but a lot of people just don't do it. And they'll find you if you do it correctly. They will find you if you do it correctly. So first thing you want to do is get your foot in the door. Just try to get anywhere to get that experience on your resume, because that's what you need to focus on. Let me see. I've got some other questions here. If I can get my cursor on here. Oh, there we go. CASP Plus or CISM. I don't have either one of these certifications. I can't speak on them. I'll probably say that the CASP is more marketable as a certification. Whenever I'm on in, actually, let me show you. Let me show what I'm looking at. Let's look at some metrics here. I'm gonna go to Indeed.com. Let's see which one's more marketable. This is not to say which one is better. I'm not talking about that. I mean, you can find a better meaning it teaches you more or it displays your skills more, whatever. I'm talking about marketability. Okay, so let's say from a marketability perspective, let's just put in CASP. And we're searching on Indeed for CASP to see how many jobs how many people are looking for CASP certification. And it looks like there's another certification called CASP certified, and it seems like it's not relevant to IT, but we're not talking about that. Okay, I see it. Okay, I see. Here we go. So 700 plus jobs for CASP. Now let's type in CISM. CISM. Let's see what we get here. 2,000 plus jobs. Wow. Okay, I stand corrected. CISM is freaking hot. So it looks like CISM is more marketable if I'm just going off of searches on this site. Let me see it. CISSP. I know this one's high, but I don't know if it's 1,000 plus. 7,000. Okay, yeah, that's relevant then. All right, CISP is going to be your best one, and then I would say probably, I know that CISA is really good. CISA is 2,000 plus, and then CISM is also 2,000 plus. So I can tell you this: I have neither one of these certifications, but I know people who do have them. Many of my bosses have had the CISM. Few of my coworkers currently have the CISM. CASP is newer, and I've got a few friends who have the CASP, and it's a good certification. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but it looks like CISM is more marketable. Let me see. I got another one here. Czar says, question: how was your experience working overseas with Vectrus? I wanted to work with them, but I've seen a lot of bad reviews. And do they sponsor clearances? I'm going to be completely honest, and I'll delete this later if I get in trouble. When I worked for Vectrus, they weren't called Vectrus. It was called something else. So there might have been a complete change. It was called, I had two different names. They had ITT, and then it had another name that I don't remember. But when I was there, it was called ITT, and then they had a couple cultural changes. So it might be completely different than when I worked there. So first of all, the company. So the company felt like it was like a cash grab. ITT, I don't know about Vector. Maybe Vectors might be different. It seemed like a cash grab because Um, it wasn't. Well, I'll just tell you, like, my experience there. So I was there as a SOC analyst, way back. This was just damn. It's like 10 years ago now. Yeah, it's 10 years ago. So keep that in mind. Number one, it was a different company, and it was also over 10 years ago. Something like 10 years ago. So I was a SOC analyst, and they were kind of just churning us through because it was hard to get people there, and you're working overseas. You're sometimes most of us are away from our family. The morale was really difficult, right? It was very very difficult for them to keep people. So typically people would be there for like a year or less, and then they would leave, and then they would bring somebody else in. And because of that, because they had such a huge need for people, sometimes the quality of people that they brought in weren't uh, weren't the best. Um, they weren't the best, most highly skilled people. And then whenever they did get a highly skilled or talented person, they would really try to hold on to that person. They would promote them. They'd give them more money. They'd offer them different things and put them in different parts of the contract to keep them. Is what I noticed. So they play these little games where they would really try to, if they needed you to stay, they would make a position and then try to put you. I don't know if that's legal, but again, this was 10 years ago, so whatever they did back then, probably not what they do now. So it was a job, and it gave me a lot of great opportunities because I was just a purely. I had a technical background as a network engineer, and I had a technical background as a. I mean, I did a little bit of Linux, Unix type stuff. I wouldn't call myself a Unix administrator by any stretch of the imagination, but I knew enough to get around. So I had some technical background, but mostly at that time, I was just like purely a risk management framework person. So like I could set up a network. I knew how to remove viruses. I could do basic things, but I hadn't done like any solid network engineering for a long time. Um, I was mostly a risk management framework guy. I knew Diacap, if you know what that is, and I knew I knew NIST 800. So that was like my main bread and butter. Um, when I got there though, I had like they like mentored me. I was a SOC analyst, but I had not done that before. So I had on the job training with people who really knew it. Like I might have this guy on, like this one dude, Mike Kazarian. That was his name. He's on LinkedIn. Really smart guy. I mean, really fucking smart guy. And I think he works at Google now. I might have him on here. He has a podcast. I might have him. I've been thinking about having him on here. But and I'll talk to him about it. Maybe ask. I don't know how much he'll say, but about what happened there. But it he was like a mentor. He was one of the many mentors that I've had over the years. That he was teaching us. He was like a GCIA, real sharp guy, and he was like mentoring and having us learn. If there was like me and three or four other SOC analysts who were come from different roles. So the positive thing is we had real on the job training from super high level professionals. This guy was really sharp, and then there was another dude. I don't know if he wants me to say his name, so I'm not gonna say this is like a director at some. This dude was really smart too. So we had these two different guys who were really really good, and they mentored us and they gave us on the job training to do SOC analyst work. So it allowed me to get this really good SOC analyst experience. And then later I transitioned to be like an engineer. I was a security engineer putting together, maintaining the equipment, some of the security equipment that the analysts were using. And the positive thing about an experience like that is that you'll get exposure to things that you wouldn't normally get to do in the US. Like I got exposure to forensics, network security analyst work, tools like all kinds of different tools, doing SOC analyst stuff. I got all this exposed, so that was really positive to my career. It really expanded what I knew, and it's why I'm able to speak on so many different things because I had real exposure to actual security incidents and stuff was really happening. Um, what about the company? So the good things about the company is that it's a good and bad thing. They were really team players for the government. Like whatever the contract needed, they would do it. Um, which can be a good or bad thing. The good thing is it helped us be employed. I mean, they didn't lose the contract. So um, the bad things. So the bad thing is if you're overseas, the morale, like I said, is really low because you're away from your family. You can't bring your family there. I mean, I guess some people did. They found some way to do it, and I guess it depends on the country and how what your status is with that country and stuff, whether or not you can bring your family. But normally you wouldn't bring your family, so you're there in this other country for like a year, right? You have a contract to be there for X amount of months or whatever, and so that really weighs down on you, especially depending on what country you're in. I was like in the Middle East. Um, and then another bad thing is it was shift work. And we were working like 12s, but it ended up being like with the travel there to and from our dorm room to the place that added like another hour or two to your travel back and forth. So it was really like 16, 14-hour days. It was brutal, man. It was brutal. That wasn't cool. And then when we would complain about it, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we'll do this and that," and they wouldn't do shit. um, so if you're trying to upgrade your career, um, it's definitely a great move. I mean, especially if you don't have experience. A lot of people get on here, like on TikTok and on YouTube and Facebook, whatever, and they're like, "Man, I don't have experience. How do I get in this?" Man, going overseas, it can get you a clearance. They'll get you a clearance. That was part of your question, right? They'll get you a clearance. Some of these organizations, I don't know if Vectra still does it, but some of these organizations they'll get you a clearance before you get there. Especially if you have a skill set that they want, they will get you a clearance. They'll get you experience. You go over there. Let's say you have very little, like me. I have very little to no experience doing cybersecurity, and then I was there with people who were help desk people, who were all walks of life. All of us were there. I was a risk management framework guy mostly. They brought us there and taught us like so. Security clearance, check. On the job training, check. You could expand there. Like you could expand into different areas there because it was just us doing the work. So whatever needed to be done, we had to do it, and that exposure can really enhance your or change the trajectory of your career. So it's a great opportunity depending on where you are in your career. The company, they kind of play the game. They're playing the game with this contract. They do not want to lose this contract. So if you are going to do anything, even remotely to jeopardize that, you are out of there. They are company. They are playing that game. Um, I can't say that they did anything like really dirty or anything like that. There's nothing I can think of that was really crazy. It's a typical company. Um, the only thing that kind of stands out was the hours we were working. That was kind of, you know, as a company, it's pretty typical. It's pretty typical. So that's the good and bad of it. If you're trying to go overseas, it's a great way to get your foot in the door. Man, it's a great way to get your foot in the door. Self talk, gotta put your time in. If anyone can bless me with financially, somebody's asking for money with Venmo? What the hell? You could do that on here? Let me see. What field is harder, cyber or software engineering, and what pays more? JG, what is harder, cyber or software engineering? In my opinion, It depends. Cyber is harder emotionally. I know that sounds soft. What is that? What the hell does that mean? You have to deal with more assholes in cybersecurity. Like your boss might be an asshole, your coworker might be an asshole, your customer is almost definitely going to have at least one asshole. So it's really difficult emotionally. If you're a software engineer, you don't have to worry about that. They want you to do the work, so they'll tap dance. They'll it's just different. Like not everybody can do that, so they're not gonna. You're not. They're gonna try to protect you from that. Your manager will deal with the assholes, but emotionally, cyber is way harder. Technically, software engineering is harder. I would say. For me, I've done software engineering on my own, like just trying to write my own programs. It was hard. It was. I found it difficult. So it takes a different kind of mindset. So it depends on what you want to do. And then you're saying who pays more? I would argue cyber overall pays more. The average cyber security professional makes more than the average software engineer. The reason why I say that is because we have less competition from India. And Indians, they'll be 10 times smarter than you and will take 10 times less money. They'll be way smarter than you by an order of magnitude, and then they'll take half your pay. They'll take half your pay because they don't need as much. So there's, and then not just Indians. I mean, I don't want to single out Indian people, but um, there's just like software engineers are kind of a dime a dozen, and now you got ChatGPT that can also help with that. So I imagine that market's going to even go lower because you can use ChatGPT to help you, Copilot or whatever, to help you write code. And so now you're going to be competing against software, AI, large language models. So I imagine that I can't see it getting higher. Cybersecurity, on the other hand, there's a reason why there's not many of us. There's a reason. So if you work in the government, you have to be a U.S. citizen. Number one, you have to be a U.S. citizen to get a clearance. So clearance also weeds a bunch of people out. It weeds a bunch of people out, so you have less competition. Um, so even if we're talking about other GRC stuff, let's see if we're talking about cybersecurity in just private sector. So the private sector, you still have to have a background check, which also weeds people out. A lot of times in cybersecurity, if you're in the financial sector, they're going to do a background check. Number one, that's going to weed some people out. I'm not talking about clearance. I'm talking about normal background check. That will weed people out. So still less competition. And another thing is that you they'll usually hire people in either that state or in the U.S. They'll want you to be a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. They'll want you to be one of those. They're not a financial sector is not typically going to hire someone from another country to run their security for a bank. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? And it's the same thing with healthcare. Like healthcare, they have to protect their data. Just think about it like that, right? They have to protect their data, so they have to trust who is watching, is holding the keys. Because you as a cyber person, you're going to get privileged access to certain things. You're going to be able to see, more importantly, be able to see where all the skeletons are in the closet. You'll see things that you shouldn't see at a bank or a healthcare organization. And they have to be able to trust you to identify those things and protect those things. And so that's why they need like a basic background check, and also why they usually hire people who are either a green card holder or in the U.S. Or a permanent resident of the U.S., a citizen. Weeds out a bunch of people. Whereas software engineering, you're competing with planet Earth, with people who are 10 times smarter than you. I don't care however smart you think you are. I guarantee you there's somebody 10 times smarter than you that will take half your money if you look at all 7 billion people on planet Earth. And that's software engineering. I've hired software engineers from all over the world, and they're smart as hell, and they'll take what I'm paying them. So I'm just, you know. Okay, let's see. Ariel Woodard says, is cybersecurity and information assurance an okay degree to get for this? This my job pays for it. Oh, is it okay to get there? And she said her job pays for it. Yes, absolutely. Both of those are great degrees. It's gonna depend, Ariel, if you're still watching me. The one thing you want to look at is making sure that's accredited college and accredited college. That's the main thing. Whether or not it's a cybersecurity degree or an information assurance degree um, is irrelevant, in my opinion, because when you get hired, they're not really looking at the degree. As long as it's an accredited, I've had people look at my degree. So I've had people look at my degree and my certifications and stuff and say, hey, um, let me see your degree. I've had them do that, right? And normally all they're doing is saying, okay, is this STEM? Is it science, technology, engineering, or mathematics? Number one, and number two, is it from an accredited college? If I hit both those boxes, I'm good. They're not looking for MIT. They're not looking for. They don't care if it's Ivy League. Maybe in the Big Four, like the financial sector or something. I don't. I'm not in that field, so I don't really know who's looking for the MIT graduates and shit. But I'm from University of Phoenix. Like I don't know if you know the background of University of Phoenix, but it's a corporation. It's an accredited college that's also a corporation. So, you know, um, I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying, it's no MIT. So I don't care about like if it's Ivy League, and then they're not, whether it's a security or information assurance is not gonna, they're not really looking at that. And even if it's a computer science versus an information technology, they're not like, oh, this person has this kind of degree and this person has this kind of degree. Not usually. Now, if you did go to MIT or Harvard or Stanford or something, that is a notch in your belt. I mean, if you went to, I mean, I know if I'm looking at a resume, I'm like, damn, this motherfucker went to MIT. That might have some bearing on whether I hire this person or this person, but it's not gonna make me not. I mean, I'm not gonna. They're not looking for that, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? They're not like actively looking for that. Let me see what else we got here. Lateral makes more sense. Yes, yes, I'm telling you. How do your skills transfer from a gun specialist to a tech? I was actually a security specialist. So weapons, that was one of the main things we did. But I was a security administrator. They don't have that. I don't think that exists anymore. But um, that was my title, and so I had to learn a lot of physical security stuff. So a lot of that stuff transferred to what I do now. I mean, the physical security aspect does transfer to what I do now. So if I'm doing a risk assessment, like one of my previous jobs, I actually was a risk assessor, and one of the things we did was physical assessments. We'd go to the site, walk around it, and look at the lights or whatever, looking on the campus to see that did transfer those skills. The physical security skills did transfer to what I do now. Still, even like there are certain aspects of GRC that merge with physical security, but the gun specialist stuff, I mean the weapon specialist, that none of that transferred. Just to answer your question. Let me see. Um, Let me see here. I'm going through some comments. On TikTok, and I've been talking for about an hour and a half, so I'm gonna I'm gonna call it quits here in a second. I was just scrolling through some TikTok questions and comments. Wow, it's a lot of activity here on TikTok, man. Wow. All right. I think that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all your comments. Anytime you have a comment, or if you have a question, normally several other people have that same question, and so that's why it's extremely helpful to ask those questions. And sometimes, if I have enough people on here, some professionals who are doing this already are also chiming in and giving advice and stuff. And so that's extremely valuable as well. And so I see this as a community of all of us helping each other, and that's why I call it Convo Courses, because it's a conversation at the end of the day. And so a lot of times I'm learning as much as you guys are learning. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching every week. Thanks for buying my books. Thanks for consuming the content. And if you guys didn't know, I still have this. I think it's this book right here is still at a low price. It's actually a combination of this one and a FISMA book at a low price for a limited amount of time, so I can get some reviews. So if you happen to be a reviewer of books on Amazon, then I would greatly appreciate it. I've got plans to put out way more content. If you watch me on a regular basis, sometimes I give it away for free for a limited time, so I can get those reviews, so I can get people to download the book or just look through it. Even when you look through it, it also helps. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm out of here. Please enjoy your day. Don't stress out. Take it one day at a time. And remember, whatever is going on in your life, this too shall pass. And don't take things too seriously. All right. See you guys later.